This podcast contains adult language and stories of true crime. If you don't like laughing, crying, or being horrified at the actions of other humans, this podcast is not for you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 23, Part 2 of Resolved Mysteries.
Hello.
Hello. Is everyone still feeling diabolical? Because you're in for a couple more parts at least.
Diabolical.
Wow.
Ooh.
Don't you want to say it like that? Diabolical.
Oh my gosh.
How is there not an 80s band named the Diabolicals?
There might be. This is the show where we rewatch, recap, and give you the latest updates to cases featured on the show Unsolved Mysteries. I'm Carlin.
I'm Allison.
I'm Eliza.
And welcome to our show.
I'm diabolical.
We're all diabolical today. As we said, this is part 2 of our special on the diabolical mind. And welcome to the show. As you know, for every review that we receive, we donate $1 to a different nonprofit. And this month's is the Cold Case Investigative Research Institute, suggested by patron Tara M. If you'd like to suggest a nonprofit for us to donate to and support us on Patreon, you'll get access to ad-free episodes, 2 additional episodes a month, early access to listener short stocks, and goodies in the mail. Go to patreon.com/resolvedmysteriespodcast. Okay, part 2, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, I have the diabolical mind of G. Daniel Walker to talk to you about.
All right. Don't forget to have a drink in your hand.
Oh, yes.
For every time we say diabolical.
We just
we could
invented
also
this.
add psychopath and sociopath to that
Oh,
list
what?
for my next
okay.
segment.
Great.
We don't want anyone getting actual alcohol poisoning. Just a little arsenic poisoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little poisoning here and there.
Check your fingernails for white lines.
Oh my gosh, you do it.
All right. Put my document here. So, okay. I am not going to cover all of this, but I do just want everyone to know that this, I have got 20 pages here.
Diabolical.
That is a diabolical situation. I think I haven't had 20 pages since Patsy Bolton Wright, and that was a long time ago.
It isn't. I'm going to really do my best to cull. I'll explain why it's so long, but anyway, it is. We'll just get into
It's a doozy.
It's diabolical, dude. What you gonna do?
Well, the problem is they don't really talk about his crimes.
I know. That's
Right.
why. That's why when I texted you, I was like, "This episode is insane."
It's insane.
Because I know there's a ton more information about what they're talking about.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Okay, so we open the segment with an explanation of how some researchers and doctors are trying to differentiate, quote, normal people from psychopaths. And one way we see them doing this is by measuring a normal person's, in quotes, brain's response to emotionally charged words that might appear on a screen as compared to their emotional response to words that are considered neutral. So the emotionally charged words being words like murder, cancer, etc. And the fact that a normal person's brain responds very quickly to words like that, whereas a psychopath's brain does not make the distinction at all between neutral words and emotionally charged words.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then psychologist Robert Hare, who studies psychopaths and is trying to answer the question, which I think is really interesting, are people born psychopaths or made psychopaths? And I feel like we talked about this a little bit in the first Diabolical Minds episode.
I mean, I've always wondered about that.
Well, and
Yeah.
in the segment Allison covered, they were saying like Hitler was horribly abused by his father, so was Saddam Hussein. So, but then of course not everyone who is abused turns into a psychopath. So
Yeah.
Robert Hare leans towards believing that psychopaths are born and not made. But then we see anthropologist Elliot Layton, and he believes that while people may have inherited susceptibility to committing violent crimes, overall psychopaths are created through conditioning by their life circumstances and family members. It's like no one agrees on that.
Yeah.
So Stack then tells us that UM traveled to North Carolina to interview a real-life convicted murderer named G. Daniel Walker. And the interview is actually conducted by FBI agent and criminal profiler Robert Ressler.
Yay!
Who we all know and love, which I thought was so cool. I thought it would be like someone from UM interviewing him. So what a great get for them. Bill Tench in Mindhunter is based off Robert Ressler. Ressler was the first person to coin the term serial killer, and he's written books including Whoever Fights Monsters. He was also instrumental in setting up VICAP, Violent Criminal Apprehension Program.
So cool.
Which is the database that many jurisdictions use to put in information and help solve unsolved homicides. So he's a great person in like true crime history. It was really cool to see him.
I didn't even know what he looked like.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah.
I think I maybe looked up a picture once, like at the start of Mindhunter. But...
yeah, I just think of the actor from Mindhunter.
Yeah. And he doesn't look like him.
Nothing.
Okay, so the show really doesn't go into much detail about what G. Daniel Walker did. So I'll talk about his crimes before we go into the interview. Just so listeners know, UM jumps right into the interview. It talks about him like bragging about the amount of crimes that he did, and then it really is like a look into how a psychopath's mind works. But I think it's more interesting to listen to the interview once you know everything this guy has done.
Great. Mm-hmm. Love it.
So basically, G. Daniel Walker is a lifelong criminal and murderer who Stack says boasts of committing over 300 crimes that he has not been caught for. So in 1973, while serving time for robbery and attempted murder, he escaped from prison. And Walker had previously been convicted of armed robbery in Florida in 1954, armed robbery in Ohio in 1958, and shooting an Illinois state trooper in the head in 1969. And that shooting is insane because that police officer lived. The bullet went straight through his skull and did not touch any parts of his brain that would affect him in any way. It is unbelievable.
Wow.
So for that crime, when he was in prison, he also escaped by faking a medical condition, going to the hospital, and then leaving the hospital. So a few weeks after his escape in 1973, G. Daniel Walker murdered a man named William Bill Ashlock. And okay, so this case is really weird and wild, and I found this author named Joan Barthel, who has written a few books, and she also had one of her books was digitized into this New York Times article. And I thought, I can't rewrite this. It's pages and pages. I won't read the whole thing, but it's just the very just a snippet of her book called A Death in California. And I think it does a really good job of explaining what happens during this particular murder, and does a good job of explaining or showing what G. Daniel Walker is actually like when he is committing crimes.
Okay.
I'll give a little backstory before I start reading, but basically, this is where you were talking about the Stockholm Syndrome. Mm-hmm. In your text to me. So it's unclear to me why, but G. Daniel Walker goes to see a man named Bill Ashlock, who is an executive, a television executive with an advertising agency. And he pretends to be a man named Taylor Wright. And he pretends to be doing a story, an interview with Bill Ashlock as one of the city's 10 most eligible bachelors. And, okay, then I'll start reading. So that's why you're going to see him named as Taylor Wright, but this is G. Daniel Walker.
Okay.
Okay, so they have lunch together. And here is where Joan Barthel's writing starts. So it says, the lunch lasted nearly 4 hours, which made Bill late getting home to his girlfriend, Hope Masters. He was living most of the time with Hope in Beverly Hills, though he still kept his bachelor apartment downtown. Bill and Hope, who was a member of a socially prominent family, were planning to spend the weekend together at her mother's ranch on 500 mountainous acres in the shadow of the Sierra Nevadas. The delay irritated Hope, and the news that the reporter would also be driving up the next day to take pictures for his article did not improve her mood. But eventually they drive to the ranch and she's feeling more relaxed. So, like Bill Ashlock, Hope Masters was in the process of her second divorce, and her broken marriages exemplified some of those contradictions. She had eloped at age 16 with the boy next door and had two children before she was 20. She had divorced her husband because she considered him a boring stay-at-home and married a dashing young public relations man, Tom Masters. They had a child, and then she and Tom had separated. So then Hope got together with Bill Ashlock, and Hope's children are not at the ranch during this weekend. So at 31, Hope was just over 5 feet and weighed 90 pounds. She had smoky green eyes, a small-boned oval face, champagne-colored hair. She's, like, really beautiful. And the creepy thing is that G. Daniel Walker has photos of her, which we will post, and it will get creepier as you know the story.
Okay.
Oh, it is horrible. Okay, so Bill, her boyfriend, was 40, but he looked 25. He was passionate about fitness, usually lunching on yogurt and jogging 3 miles a day. Bill made a fire at the ranch, and they sat up till nearly dawn, drinking wine and talking. They talked of their past relationships and their future. What happened in the hours and the days and weeks that lay ahead is one of the strangest and most perplexing stories in the, how do you say this word, annals? Annals?
Annals.
In the annals of American crime. It is a story whose principal actors, Hope Masters, and the man who called himself Taylor Wright, represented vastly different levels of society. One was a complex and vulnerable member of a rich, prominent family. The other, as it turned out, was at once a bright, persuasive charmer and an unpredictable, menacing force. Okay. So Taylor Wright, G. Daniel Walker, arrives at the ranch early Saturday afternoon. He was wearing dark slacks with a dark red turtleneck sweater, a white shirt over it, and a leather jacket. He was tall, very handsome, with dark wavy hair and a deep tan. A large carved pipe, one hand thrust into a pocket, the very image of ease and elegance. Hope recalls the moment she was introduced by Bill. "Hope, this is Taylor Wright." "Hi, Taylor, where'd you get that terrific tan?" "I've been skiing." Bill sat on the sofa with Taylor in the rocking chair. Hope set out wine and cheese, and she and Taylor talked, with Bill mostly listening. So they talk. She says, "How did you happen to pick Bill as a distinguished bachelor for your article?" And Taylor says, "Well, he drives a sports car and has a pilot's license, and he dates attractive women." So he's flirting with Hope in front of Bill. So they all go down to the river to take pictures, and we will post some of these. And at one point, Hope slips on grass, and Taylor catches her around her waist to help her not fall, and holds her hand as they climb up the bank. And they're just like teasing each other and kind of flirting. So at dinner time, Hope is starting to feel sick and dizzy from wine and pills she took for a bad back. Taylor said he'd be back the next day to take more pictures, but when he didn't move from the rocking chair, Hope excused herself. She says, "I have to go to bed now. I'll see you tomorrow." So Bill, her boyfriend, follows her into the bedroom, and she says, "I'm not going to bed for the night. I just want to take a nap. Wake me up when he's gone." But she falls into a really deep sleep. The next thing she knows,
No.
she wakes up. The room is completely black. She sensed a large shape looming over her, then something jabbing at her mouth, something cold, hard, and heavy, and she knew it was a gun. Hope Masters jerked her head aside and rolled across the bed, flinging herself out the door. Bill, help me," she screamed in the glow of the dying fire. She saw Bill in his usual place on the sofa, his feet on the coffee table, his drink in his hand. His eyes were closed. As she ran toward him, she noticed the rocking chair was empty. Taylor is gone, she recalls, thinking in panic, and a maniac has come in.
Whoa.
Bill, help me, she kept screaming. When she grasped Bill by the shoulders to wake him, his head wobbled and fell back.
No.
A voice came from the darkness behind the sofa. He can't help you. He's dead.
What?
Then someone approached her from behind, spun her around, and thrust her hands into the fire. See all the firelight. Sorry, firelight. See all the blood, said the flat voice. Look at all the blood. He's dead.
Whoa.
Hope begins to vomit. She's running for the bathroom. The man is running after her, tearing at her clothes.
No.
She's trying to throw up. She's like putting her head in the toilet, trying to throw up. He pulls her into the bedroom.
Oh, my God.
He's tearing her clothes off. He rapes her violently. And he's speaking the whole time in this harsh voice that she doesn't recognize. She still does not recognize who this is. And he says, I don't need a gun to kill you. I can break your neck with one hand. And then he's like, I have to kill you. I can't leave you alive. Then you'll identify me. And she's like, I won't identify you. I promise. And he's like, I'm going to have to kill you. And he ties her up, and she's still on the bed. He leans down and rubs his face against her cheek and says, I love you, and leaves the room.
No.
Okay, so basically this case is so insane, but that was G. Daniel Walker. We don't know when in the night that he killed Bill. Okay, so they are together. He comes back in, and she says, is Bill really dead? Please tell me he isn't dead. And the voice says, I've seen him, and he is dead. And Hope's like, why? Please no. And G. Daniel Walker says, because he was with you, someone wants you dead. He's trying to tell Hope Masters that there is a hit out on her and her family.
What?
And he is the contracted killer. And he killed Bill instead of killing her.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Oh, no.
The hit contract was arranged by her second husband, who she was in the middle of divorcing. And he had taken out a large insurance policy on her. And he tells her, your second husband wants it to be like a Sharon Tate type massacre, along with her two older children, but not the youngest, who was Tom Masters' child, the second husband, who he's saying put this hit out on her. And she's like, no, I have to go be with my children. This is horrible. Like, I have to go be with them. She doesn't want to be away from him. And he says, you don't understand. In a contract killing, there's no such thing as a witness left alive. You could identify me. I have to kill you. So he keeps telling her that. And that's when she's like, I promise I won't identify you. I promise. Okay, so he leaves the room and he comes back in. And this is finally when she realizes it is Taylor Wright, who's G. Daniel Walker. She did not know it until then.
Oh, my God.
So then she's deciding, like, I'm just got to, like, try and keep him calm. We had this good rapport before where we were, like, almost flirting. I'm going to, like, keep that going. Like, she's trying to survive, trying to get back to her kids. She's also like, I think I believe what he's saying, that he's, like, trying to spare me.
Even though he raped her.
Yeah.
It's like Stockholm, basically. He says, I have a code of ethics. I don't believe in killing a mother with young children, especially when they have very little money. I'll have to think about it. So he's like pretending that he's really mulling this over and like really gonna save her. They wake up the next morning. He tries to kiss her and she's like, I haven't brushed my teeth yet. And she rolls over, or he laughs and gets up.
Ew.
By day, this is back to her writing. By day, the scene seemed as unreal as it had by night. Taylor warned again that if she identified him, she and her children would be killed. He talked of killing Tom Masters, who's the person he says put the hit out on her, so Hope could collect his Social Security. He talked of burning down the ranch house they were in and of buying Hope a white lace dress Bill had planned to buy for her.
What?
He wanted to cook breakfast for her. When Hope refused to go through the living room because Bill was still in there, he dragged Bill's body into the back bedroom.
Oh my God, what is this?
Oh, it is hell. It is a true
is
hell.
this?
Okay. Hope says she remained desperately afraid, but he only seemed angry and menacing when she showed fear or that she was in pain. So the whole time she tries to stay cheerful. When he said he had a backache, she gave him a back rub. He talked again about the white dress he wanted to buy her. And it dawned on Hope that Taylor Daniel Walker, wanted to take Bill's place in her life. I'll make it up to you, he assured her. He wanted her happy and loving. Okay. Basically, horrible, 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 terrible things. He goes to live in her home with her children. They leave the ranch.
No.
She finally whatever, they like decide together. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to protect you there. It's going to be okay. I'm not going to kill you. But we do need to like keep this act up that we're together. So they go there, and her parents are there too. And she has to tell people about Bill's murder, and she's keeping up this story that they're not saying that it was Taylor Wright, but they're saying that like someone killed him
This
as a
intruder
hit, as a
came in.
contract.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is my new boyfriend?
Basically. So
Oh no.
What the fuck is this?
Okay, so Hope convinces Taylor that they have to do something. She says, somebody is going to find Bill's body. It's been 3 days. Like, we have to do something. So he agrees that they go down the hill to her mother's house, but he warns her again, if she veers from the plan, everyone will be killed. So when they arrive, Hope's mother, who's also named Hope, but is nicknamed Honey, was appalled at her daughter's disheveled, hollow-eyed look. Hope kept thinking of the gun in Taylor's waistband under his leather jacket, as like she's talking to her mom and telling her this story that's happened, that Bill had been killed by an intruder, that Taylor had arrived on Sunday to take the pictures like he promised, and had moved to Bill's body and had rescued Hope. She's telling her mother this version of the story.
Oh my God.
So right away, Honey is really impressed by Taylor. She thinks he's obviously really intelligent and well-born and educated. She says, after you released Hope and left the ranch, why didn't you drive straight to the police station? And he says, because your daughter told me what had happened and she was terrified for the safety of her children. She said the killer had told her that if she notified the police before he said she could, he could kill her. He would kill her and her children and you and your husband too. Meanwhile, it's him that said this to her.
This is...
And so
insane.
he's like, you are still in terrible danger. I'm sure, he says, I am sure there is someone on the roof of the house across the street right now with a telescopic rifle. There may be a bomb under your house.
What the...
So Honey's trying to stay calm, but she's like, we have to tell the police. Like, I don't know what to do. It makes up all this stuff about he doesn't want to go to the police also because he's not an American national, and he doesn't want to be seen as a witness in any crime because he doesn't want to have any trouble with his passport and getting home. He claimed that he was from Paris or had was an expat living in Paris, blah, blah, blah. But then Hope's stepfather gets home. Here's the whole story. And he's like, I'm 63 years old. I've never broken the law in my life. I'm calling the police. Like, we're not risking. I feel like that's worth the risk of not saying what's going on to the police. But Hope is like fully in on this story, even though she knows he's lying to her mom, but she's still so bought in.
God.
She's like, you're not just risking your own life. You're condemning my children, and they haven't even had a chance to live. So Hope and her stepfather are arguing about it. And Taylor says, I'll call the police, but not from here. The phone is tapped from here. I'll use a phone at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And he leaves.
Oh,
Saying he's going to go call the police. Okay.
oh my God, this is insane.
And now you can imagine this guy that they're interviewing doing all these things. It's fucking crazy. Okay, so
Oh, I hate him so much.
Poor Hope is so scared. She quickly scrawls out her will and her, like, in case something happens to her, so people know what to do with her children or whatever. Her stepfather brought guns he kept in the house out into the living room. They're, like, getting ready for an ambush that is not coming.
My God.
And within the hour, 2 young Beverly Hills policemen arrive, and Hope tells them the story about an unknown intruder, a murder contract, and her rescue by a man named Taylor. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the police find Bill's body following a phone call from a man in L.A. who said he was Hope Masters' father. But poor Hope is arrested on suspicion of homicide. So the police do not believe her story, and they think she is the one that did it.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
This is insane.
It's
She
insane.
must have felt so fucking crazy.
Right? So crazy. So after 2 days, because it's crazy because she knows he's the one that killed him.
Yes.
But
And
then
raped
she has to keep up the facade that he's not to her parents, that it was an intruder. It's crazy making. So after 2 days and 2 nights in jail, Hope was released on $50,000 bail. Even with Valium sleeping pills, she could not sleep in the guest room at her mother's house, her children clutching fearfully at her in the big bed. The children were, like, scared during this time. There was a lot of fighting between Hope and her stepfather. There were just a lot of disagreements. I think probably her stepfather could tell that something was not right with this
Yeah.
Taylor guy.
Sure.
Okay, so this Taylor, G. Daniel Walker, is calling the house and leaving messages for Hope, even though he hasn't seen her since she was arrested. And he's saying things like, I don't want any member of your family listening in. I don't want any of your lawyers listening in, but I will stick by you to the bitter end and I'll get you out of this mess. I will not leave the country. I will not leave the area until I know all the charges against you have been dropped. I've been keeping track of the kids. I know they're staying home from school. I'm not far away, dear. I'm going to stay close. I'll see you out of this one. Mr. Fix-It will get you through. Oh, and I found you that stunning white dress, size 3.
Oh, my God.
Hope, I'm not going to leave you in this trouble. You've committed no crime. You were not involved in anyone's death. I'm going to do everything in my power to get you out. Give the kids a kiss from me. Because he had stayed in the home for a couple of days, like tucking the kids into bed, basically like playing dad. Okay.
Oh, my
So
I can't imagine the horror.
I don't even know what to say or how to react to this. It's so insane.
So insane. So, but this is all of these like phone calls and messages are tape recorded. And so the FBI get a hold of them. So they start to believe like Taylor is involved. This Taylor guy's involved. Okay, so the FBI are trying to then like turn Hope away from Walker. She's still holding on to this story, even though she knows he's the one that pulled the trigger. But she doesn't even have the real story. She thinks he is a hitman.
Oh, my God.
So then, but Hope eventually starts to believe, okay, because she's under suspicion, like she's out on bail. They're going to try her. So they eventually are able to like kind of turn her. She's hoping that if Walker is captured, it will clear her name. But he is eventually found and captured on March 11th after an all-night stakeout in a motel in North Hollywood, where he'd registered in the hotel as Taylor Wright, which was dumb. But Hope Masters and G. Daniel Walker were indeed both together, standing together at the preliminary hearing to determine whether probable cause existed for a trial for both of them. They are still
my
looking at her as well. They think it's
my God.
they both planned it. They're trying to figure out which of the pair fired the small caliber gun into Ashlock's head. The judge said there has been more than sufficient evidence adduced that the crime of homicide has been committed, that each of the defendants were present, and the court feels that probative value to be given to the evidence should be done by the superior court for both the defendants. So they want to take them both to trial. Can you imagine being Hope Masters? It's insane.
This poor woman. Oh, my God.
It is so terrible. This is like pages of horror. Eventually, they are able to deduce the true story and that G. Daniel Walker is just making the whole thing up. I cannot find a motive for his crime specifically against William Ashlock at all.
Right.
Like, I do not know why he chose him and then chose to make up this whole story.
I was wondering if it wasn't about Ashlock, it was about Hope the whole time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It might have been, but then there's no, like, it's unclear how he ever found Hope in the first place to get in with her through Ashlock.
Weird.
It is so insane. So that he wrote to her, he was asking her to marry him. Hope felt like she had to see him still to like end things or like settle things. So she visited him when he was at San Quentin. She stayed overnight in Fresno and went back to see him a second day and the next day. So then it's kind of unclear, like, did she actually fall in love with him? Like, is this truly a Stockholm thing?
God.
Oh my God.
This says, Hope accepted the fact that no one would ever understand, like, his motives. She says, quote, everyone thinks Walker let me live for one of two reasons, sex or money. Either we were sexually mad for each other or my parents paid him off. It never seems to occur to anybody that maybe Walker let me live because he thought I was a good person, useful person, a valuable human being.
That's not why.
So she's kind of bought into that.
No, I don't understand how.
Okay, but then 3 months after Hope visits him and sort of like ends things, G. Daniel Walker marries a prison dietitian.
What?
Does no one know what he's done?
I mean, he is pretty charming. When I was watching that interview, I was like,
I
I'd
know.
fall for him in a second. Not fall for him in a romantic way, but I would fall for his shit in a minute.
It's, yes. Okay, so that's a very short version of the story, which I feel like is still too long, but of the story between him and Hope Masters and Bill Ashlock, the man that he murdered. Before Simply Earth's essential oil recipe box showed up at my door, I had had a bunch of oils sitting around that I hadn't used in so long. One of the problems with oils is that I'll invest money or I'll pick something up at the store that seems like it will be good, but then I don't actually know what to use it for. And that's where Simply Earth comes in. They actually teach you how to use their oils and give you recipes to help you do that. The Simply Earth Essential Oil Recipe Box will help you gain confidence and clarity in using essential oils to make your home toxin-free. Here's how it works. You'll receive the recipe box with 4 pure essential oils, 6 recipe cards, and extras. You'll learn how to use the oils while making the recipes created by certified aromatherapists. You'll save money and start detoxifying your life and home. The best part is you're buying from a company that changes the world. Simply Earth gives 13% of all of their profits to end human trafficking. It's like a meal subscription kit, but more fun and less edible. The essential oils alone in this kit would cost over $100 from other companies, but with the Simply Earth Essential Oil Recipe Box, you get 4 oils, 6 recipes, and extras for only $39. And when you subscribe, you get a free big bonus box with even more natural goodies. But that's not all. Using essential oils to support your wellness doesn't have to be overwhelming. You can have fun making your home toxin-free with Simply Earth's Essential Oil Recipe Box, plus you'll get a free 80 milliliter essential oil diffuser when you subscribe using our URL, simplyearth.com/mysteries. That's simplyearth.com/mysteries. Okay, so then we go into the interview with Ressler, which is what this segment's about. Knowing all of that, plus he truly has done so many things. Robberies, obviously tried to shoot a police officer. He prides himself on living the criminal life. This is what he wants to do in his life. So Robert Ressler asks him why he keeps ending up... He asks him a lot of things. I'm picking a few of the, most important quotes. One of the questions he asks him is, why does he keep ending up in jail when he's had so many opportunities to leave and to stay out? And Walker responds by saying, Well, you see prison as not being successful, but just because you're in prison doesn't mean you can't be successful. I think, and then he says someone's name, I couldn't figure out who he was quoting. I think Blank said, the greatest freedom that a man enjoys is being in prison because they feed you breakfast in the morning. You can go out and kill your cellmate and they'll still feed you lunch and give you sheets for your bed in the evening.
Oh, my God.
He also says that the institution, he calls himself institutionalized, the institution has become his wife because it does his dishes and washes his socks, which are things he doesn't like to do. And he says, so I guess, are you asking me if I'm happily married? Then yes, I am.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
And
that
then,
was so...
he really does have a knack for, like, everything Wrestler says, he turns it around on him like, well, it's not that bad. Like, what you're saying is actually not that bad. I'm doing fine. Everything's fine with me. He can't stand to think that anyone thinks he's, like, not doing well or has lost the game.
Has failed.
He's like, I'm all good.
Yeah. So he brags about when he has escaped from prison. He says it's better than sex. You can tell he's, like, actually very excited by talking about it. He says that sometimes he would even escape and then the people pursuing him would lose the scent. So he would have to turn around and be like, come on, guys, turn this way, to get them back on his tail to keep the chase going, which I do not believe for 1 second.
No.
Then when Wrestler asks him if he has remorse for anything he's done, the first thing he says is that he has remorse for oh yeah, that's the other thing. He represented himself in his trial for the murder of Bill Ashlock, which is, of course, the dumbest thing you can do. And so many psychopaths do it. So he says he has remorse for making that choice and losing the trial and ending up in prison. Reed Malloy, who was in the first introduction segment, a forensic pathologist, interjects his expertise on sociopaths and psychopaths and says the psychopathic individual will engage in a psychology of reversals. Pain originates in other people, problems originate in other people, and responsibility for your behavior is really other people's responsibility. And then Wrestler asks, do you feel you're truly a dangerous person from the standpoint of committing violent acts? And Walker responds, only if you've done something wrong to me. Also, apparently, G. Daniel Walker was able to import a highly lethal poison into the United States from behind bars. I have no idea. They don't say what the poison was. I couldn't find any information about it. But Wrestler kind of asks him about it, and he just loves it because he's been prosecuted for so many crimes. Once all these different people found out that had prosecuted him that he had brought in this lethal poison from the United States, it spread a lot of fear among these people. He tells about how one deputy attorney general in California actually went through all his cabinets and threw everything in his house that could be eaten away. And he and his wife even ripped the carpets up because they were so worried that G. Daniel Walker had put the poison somewhere in his house. And
he loved it.
Walker is basically on the verge of maniacally laughing.
Yeah.
He loves it. And Wrestler, of course, because he is who he is, gets right to it. And he's like, it seems like what you're saying is that you like to cause fear and paranoia. You're enjoying the fact that they didn't die, but they were scared. And Walker's like, oh yeah, it's better than killing them because when you kill them, it's over. But if you don't kill them, but you're making them scared, fear and paranoia never leave you. He literally says, quote, it's better gamesmanship.
Yeah, he'd rather fucking haunt you.
And he considers it a game.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. So, another thing he does, which we've heard about so many times, is he appeals, just constantly appeals. He's writing appeals on the backs of lunch paper bags because the prison only gives him 5 sheets of paper a week. He appeals about prison conditions like that. He thinks we should have more paper. He's taking, and he half the time does it just to take up
time,
people's time,
and
to
energy.
bog up the system. he gets to be like transferred to a different area to do his.
He's an energy vampire.
Yeah, he's Colin Robinson.
Oh my God. He's truly an energy vampire.
He's like an evil Colin Robinson.
Anyway, and then I really couldn't find anything about Hope Masters. I think she does not want to be found.
Whoa.
Which is very understandable.
God, that poor woman.
I wonder if she changed her name.
Maybe, probably. Because also that name is so unique. Like, the last I found about him was that in 2018, he had been denied for his 13th try at parole and was denied and was 86 at the time. So I'm pretty sure he's still alive, and he'll have another hearing in 2023.
No.
Wow.
I don't need to hear anything else from him.
He is terrible.
I really did think that he was very likable. Like, the things he said were terrible.
He was good at, like, joking.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
he was very light and funny and...
Yeah.
Yeah, like it made me think of the Ed Kemper scenes in Mindhunter.
Right.
Where it's like, I would hang out with this guy.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
Right.
and then Stack did say, one of the things that he does is he turns it around on the interviewer to kind of create camaraderie. So he says to wrestler, well, what's it like for you guys? You know, you get a big, you wrestle
you get a
somebody
big win.
Yeah, you're high-fiving and you're like, yeah, like that's just what it's like for me. Wrestler's like,
He's like, are you saying there's a fine line between you and me? And he goes, yeah, and you know it.
right.
But with a big grin. He's
Yeah.
a grinner. Grinning constantly.
Yeah, I'm just like so
hate it.
interested in how he found Hope. It must have been about her.
I know. Yeah, that makes sense.
It must have been.
And him knowing like about the dress thing, like he must have been, you know,
Right.
stalking them to find out these things.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, thank you so much to Joan Barthel who wrote this book, which I basically read from because there's no way I could have like.
No.
Hope Masters also hasn't talked to a lot of people, so like
Right.
that's the
Yeah.
most information I could find, and it was so detailed, so clearly like firsthand accounts of what was said and everything.
Well, and-
but
Also, like they had that 4-hour lunch. So God only knows what he said during what Bill said during that lunch. And he
Right,
could have
yeah.
said, like, I know you're interviewing me as a bachelor, but
Right.
truth be told, I'm in a relationship and I really love this woman and I'm going to get her this white dress. Like, he probably gave so much information without even
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
But then even that he was posing as a Los
Yeah.
Angeles Times.
So why?
It's just, and then it's like hearing all of these details, and he's supposedly done so many other things, like how cunning. If you were to read the transcripts of each of we always read about them, like, oh, he shot this police officer, blah blah blah. Like when I was first reading about the case, it was like he raped. Actually, I think she was his fiance technically, or they were going to get married. Hope and Bill. He killed the fiance and then he raped the woman. Like, it's like, no, it's so much more than that. It's so much like psychological warfare going on.
Yeah.
And like the horror of her vomiting and him pulling her into the bedroom
Right.
while she's just I don't know. You just never like hear the details like that.
Right.
And we're so used to hearing those details that we kind of wash over it. So then to
Right.
like actually
Yeah.
oh, horrible.
Wow.
So gross.
Oh, so gross. Well, let's hear about someone else terrible now.
I think we might have to call it. I think we might have to do. We might have to do 3 parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I could have listened to a lot more about that
me
guy.
too. I feel like
Okay,
it's a long
good, because I couldn't
podcast.
tell if it's you know when it's your own, you can never tell. Like, is this even
Yeah.
interesting? And
It's
you've been so deep
fascinating.
into it that
It's totally it's insane. It's an
I will
insane
definitely
story.
read more about him.
Yeah. Yes, 100% entering a rabbit hole about that, and then Carlin's crazy lady too.
well. And what was interesting was like, so I watched the interview before I read all of that, and
Right.
so I definitely had that same idea about him. I was like, oh, he's funny, like he's charming, and look at his glasses, they're like.
I love
hipster.
his specs.
And now after reading that and then watching the interview again, I was disgusted. So it's really weird to see
your skin's
how
crawling.
your lens changes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn, that was great.
Diabolical.
All right. Well, let's just do a little quick outro because that's what we're going to do. Guys, this is going to be a 3-parter. Sorry.
We love it.
First ever 3-part.
I mean, this is a pretty intense episode.
Yeah.
It really is.
They could have made, obviously, UM should have included a lot more information about each of these cases.
I have a feeling like this episode is what it's like to be a true crime podcast where it's just a relentless series of terrible things and there is no like lost love or Noah's Ark or alien abduction to get down with. And I have to say that I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Like, I'm exhausted listening to these stories, and I'm exhausted that I still have to tell a terrible story.
Right.
And, like, it is really why I never would be able to do, like, a true crime podcast where you dedicate 45 minutes a week to just a total monster.
Well, it makes sense why MFM is sometimes doing, like, I survived stories.
Right. Because you're at some point, you're just like, everybody's terrible, everything is awful, and everybody's a monster, right? Like, oof.
I also thought about this, like, from the UM producer's perspective, though, because I was like, this is such a, like, game changer. Like,
yes.
This is really different. Like, these aren't necessarily mysteries. Like, I think this is the point where they realize, like, no, these people are interested in true crime.
Right, yeah.
And they want to understand it a little bit and, like, get behind it a little bit.
Right.
So we're going to, like, dip a little toe in there.
Totally. And good on them for, like, keeping up with the times, too, of, like... criminal profiling and like having Robert Ressler on there.
The OG.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally. Right.
I would, I wanted more
cool.
with just, like Robert Ressler says a few things, but I could listen to him talk about things all day. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And just, Anyway.
All right. Well, next episode, we're going to talk about the murders of Joanne Michelle and Christy Rogers.
Is there going to be anyone diabolical in that one?
Oh, yes. There is someone very diabolical in that one.
Oh, another diabolical, huh?
Oh, it is not unsolved, sisters, and it is very diabolical. So to do our quick outro that we usually do, I don't even see it. What do we do? What do we say?
We don't really say anything. We just say, see you next time, because you put the thing in.
Right. So I guess we'll just see you next week, and we're going to talk about another diabolical person.
Okay. Diabolical.
This was less than fun. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Have good dreams now.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, be cozy.
Yikes on bikes. Okay.
One, two, three. Nicole Kidman, get out of here.
You can't. Probably not. I'm doing it right now, and it's the smallest.
Did you really just Nicole Kidman your hands too much? What's happening?
You have to use fingertips.
I will.
A full fingered clap.
I will.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Okay. That was clapping.
Nicole Kidman
That
does
was
not
clap.
work for this. Good to know.